Welcome back to the Building Bigger Lives podcast. I'm Kathryn Pedersen. Along with Michael Regan, we are bringing you a guest today. So Mike Rafii we've both known Mike for a really long time. I've been lucky to be able to work with Mike in a past job and became friends with him, stayed at his house. We made some food with his wife, Robin, and one of his girls was there at the time. But Mike is one of those people that is a little bit, I hate to call it like addictive, but it's kind of the one of the words I would use. He's great to be around, so fun, has so much energy. I've never seen him really like slow down, even at his own house. He's moving around all the time. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to share Mike with you today, is just expose you to some of that energy. And I'm going to let Michael introduce Mike Rafii in his way. So go
Yeah,
ahead,
this is
Michael.
this is gonna be tough for you. You got Mike and Mike. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
tough combo. Um, Kathryn, thanks for the setup. And Mike, I won't delay. I'm sorry, the intro here much longer, other than to say it really is fun to get to know you in a different light from our normal coaching calls to when I have spent time with you in person. I think one of our favorite activities together is to go eat sushi. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah, one of our favorite things. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Rafii coming to us live from somewhere near Austin, Texas today. Nice to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you both. Thank you for the kind words. I'm blushing, but yeah, I'm looking forward to spending a few minutes with you guys.
Well, we're glad to have you. And Kathryn, you're right. When we bring in guests, I think our goal for you, our audience, is to bring someone who is not only performing at a very high level as an entrepreneurial person, but someone who has a unique story so that you can maybe pick up on something. Maybe you'll learn something about them that will inspire you to think differently about the way you're running your business. And I'm confident in that with Mike, because Mike definitely has a unique story. We all do, but his is also super interesting on top of that. And Mike, I really want to maybe start that off by asking you to go into the Wayback Machine, because last I checked, you've got a little bit of a different story from some of your influences as a young person than maybe Kathryn and I did. And what has always inspired me about you is no one's ever really handed you anything. You've really worked hard to achieve everything. I mean, you're clearly today a top 1% producer in the country. You lead a great team over at Rocket. You're doing some great things. We'll learn more about that. But where did this come from? Where did this desire to live and perform at such a high level come from? Tell us the backstory.
Well, I would say probably Persian DNA. Okay, but I'll start there that, I was born in New York. My parents were going to school. Mom was an MD doing her residency. Dad was going to NYU. And I was born there, but the plan had always been for them to go back to Iran. So around 2.5 years old, they went back. Mom had her practice, and dad worked for the oil company as an executive. So I spent my younger years there, elementary school. Uh, and then a whole lot happened in that country, as some of us have now learned, even those that didn't know.
Mm.
So, it was a dramatic shift in the politics and a whole lot of other things, regime change. And that kind of forced me to grow up and experience things that normally kids that are, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old don't, such as, air raids and, war bombs coming down, things like that, and shootings, and seeing it on TV. Um, my parents decided, for the sake of their children, that that wasn't the right place. And they said, okay, Dad, you stay. Mom and myself and my sister, that were 6 years younger, headed out to Britain. And we were abroad for about 18 months, went to school in London, went to school in Cambridge. And it was right after the revolution. So let's say 1980, 79 was the revolution. Dad said, I think it's going to be okay. Come on back. Okay. We got back, but then the Iran-Iraq war started, and they started, kind of, the regime started really bringing the hammer down on women. There were no religious liberties. There was really a lot of the freedom went away. At that point, I was junior high. But when I did come back, um, I missed being abroad. The world had changed a lot. There was a situation because of the war. Iran started drafting kids, boys, for the war, and that was it. There was an opportunity for parents to put me on a flight because I was a U.S. born, and they were legal residents. They had their green cards back then, so I got on a flight by myself to Germany. I had an uncle in Germany. This is when I was probably 12 years old. Tried going to school in Germany, didn't do good with the German language, couldn't do it. And I had an uncle in San Diego with an Irish American wife. That's how I got to San Diego. And I grew up in San Diego, did, sophomore year. Um, and I'll pause here because what you asked, what made you, I think the events in my life essentially left marks on me that allowed me to then become that much stronger further on in my life. Initially, I reacted just like a kid would. Okay, didn't like it, missed my parents. My parents had to go and through the Turkish border, then to Italy, and come in as political refugees. They lost everything. Mom, dad, we had nothing. We were on food stamps. I was that teenage kid that would go through the grocery store, and then when it was time to pay, I would walk away because that's when dad was going to pull out the food stamps. Now, we all worked, dad worked, but back then you still had the food stamp, not a debit card. Okay, so all of those things did not sit well with me, did not sit well with my parents. My parents were upper middle class in Iran. We had we had it all, right? So we literally came down to nothing. And around that time, there was still a lot of prejudice towards Iran and with the hostage crisis and a lot of that. And I'm probably muddling up the dates a little bit, so I didn't fact check some of the years. But what I can tell you is I played soccer. That's all I knew, and maybe a little bit of tennis. I didn't know baseball. I didn't know softball. I didn't know basketball. I didn't know football. So PE, and if we did do baseball or softball, was comic relief for my classmates because they would be looking at me and I'm going, I got this. I'm at third base and it would fall right a foot over, be like, I swear I had it, and, swing and miss and swing and miss and swing and miss. A lot of heckling, a lot of that. I had a little bit of an accent, but it was interesting because I had a bit of a British accent. So it was
I wondered if
Persian
that might have
British,
been
and
the
I
case.
didn't know slang. So sitting in biology, I'm watching biology movies. I'm not really getting it. Okay. But once I looked at the textbook, I aced everything. And that's, I would say, probably the Persian DNA. Sorry, and my mom being an MD and my dad being educated. So who knows what it was, but I liked school. But I hated the fact that I felt lesser. Nobody made me necessarily feel that way. I felt that. So I kind of took some drastic measures. A very sad thing happened during that time, about a year from when my parents got to San Diego after I'd already been there 2 years. Mom was in a severe depression. She had to retake all of her board certification exams to have her own practice again. And she just never dug out from under what had happened with their lives. And she took her own life when I was a junior in high school. I came home from an outing and found mom. And so think of it as just being a teenager, having gone through all the things I explained, but wanting to blame something, right? And I blamed my own kind for it, if I can say that, meaning, God, Iran sucks. What happened here? And I don't want to be, I don't want to have an accent. I don't want to be looked at as a Persian. I don't want to be picked on. I'm not going to associate myself with any Persians because I want to lose that accent. And I'm going to do all the things that I need to do to assimilate faster and become one of this society, one of this culture, and find my way. Now, while mom was alive in high school, I loved math. I did trig, I did everything. In senior year, I had a great mentor, my trig teacher, and he convinced me when I went to college to be a computer science major. I went to college, computer science major. If you're a Persian, you're either an engineer or a doctor or maybe a lawyer. Okay. You're not a mortgage guy. There's plenty now, but you're not a mortgage guy back then. Okay. Nothing to be proud of if you're going to be a banker or a mortgage guy. So when I went to San Diego State, it took me the second semester and having a calculus class to say, forget it. And then being in the computer lab, debugging. And back then, it wasn't anything exciting, you guys. It was Pascal and BASIC. I finally said, since I had a part-time job at a mortgage company as a processor, I didn't know what the heck that meant, but I saw these loan officers that drove BMWs, and I started getting into credit reports and seeing people's lives. So I'm going to switch majors and go do finance and real estate. That is essentially kind of how I got there. Now, I've left a lot out, but I stumbled into the mortgage industry right as a senior in high school. And then from there, I stayed at this mortgage company across every facet of the mortgage industry: processing, accounting, servicing, underwriting, all of it. Okay. Shipping. And the company shut down. It was 1991. And I had to actually now get a job and had to be in sales. So I applied to a company called Long Beach Bank. Back then, it was a subprime lender, although back then nobody knew what a subprime deal was. And I said that I knew how to cold call, and got the job and had to pretend that I knew how to cold call, and called, dialed for dollars, loans, home equity loans, flip Transamerica loans, seconds into firsts, selling 9% on a 6-month LIBOR, selling 11% 30-year fixed, all about the need of the consumer. Okay. Without any knowledge of if there was a better product out there. Okay. Over the years, I realized there's much better products out there. So I'll stop there. I don't know if
let's pause.
I
Only
wanted to survive, right? I wanted to survive, and I did what I needed to do, and it happened to be in the mortgage industry.
Mike, there's so much in the story you've already shared. We could spend hours unpacking the stories behind those stories. I don't want to, butterfly all of those open, but I do want to acknowledge, if you're listening today and you just heard, let's call it the preview, this is the trailer to the Mike Rafii story. Imagine some of those moments. I mean, Mike, I don't really know how to process in my American experience as a youth what you've seen internationally in all of these different, born in New York, raised in Iran, spending time at a school in Britain, back in Iran, spending time in Germany, not working out. Let's go to San Diego. Like, you lived a lifetime by the time you were 14.
Mm-hmm.
And then you deal with really one of the most difficult things anyone would ever have to deal with. But it spurs you in some way that maybe some of us don't understand. And others of us right now are like, I get it. I get it. Like, that motivation to decide, I'm not going to run and hide. I'm going to figure out how to move forward and never look back. There's something in that part of your story that I think might be the clue to some of the fire that still drives you today. There's something about that is both inspiring and humbling, because I don't know that you can manufacture that. I mean, your kids were born in San Diego, arguably born on third base. You've got to convince them they didn't hit a triple.
That's
Sorry, Kathryn, another baseball
all of
analogy.
us. That would be all of us, kind of, our kids.
Totally true. Totally true. Except Kathryn and I, Kathryn, chime in here. Kathryn and I didn't have the adversity at the level you experienced it. And it's fascinating to see that, if we look at just basic psychology, fight, flight, or freeze, for some reason, the fight came out in you. You decided to persevere at a level that is really impressive. I just want to thank you for sharing the background of your story, because I don't know that most of us can totally understand what that would take. And yet here you are today with a smile on your face, a beautiful wife, two beautiful girls, a business to be proud of. I mean, in many ways, man, that if you could go back and talk to 14, 15-year-old Mike, you've really accomplished so much of what you might have been hoping for at that time.
Thank you. And I would say that, yeah, I'm I'm grateful for it's the American dream. It's the ability to be able to have that opportunity. Um, and you're right. I think you really explained it properly. I was angry. I wanted to fight and get there. This was not acceptable. So, and then from there, there's a whole other journey as far as my professional career. But you know, I mean, like you said, there's so many little pieces. Like, I had a buddy of mine and I said, I'm going to rush a fraternity. I'm like, what? You're going to rush a fraternity? You know what a fraternity is? He says, I don't care. I'm going to rush a fraternity because I want to be uncomfortable. I want to be uncomfortable. I want to see who's going to talk crap to me because I'm going to do. So a lot of that, I think, has made me who I am. And I still do that. I like kind of being uncomfortable sometimes.
Hey, Mike, question for you, because I know you so well now, right? We talk fairly frequently, and I know Mike's wife, and anyway. But so when I think of you, I do think of you as authentic, right? But you had to jump from when you assimilate, you kind of have to pretend to be someone you aren't, right? When you're trying not to be Persian in that moment. But now I would say, like, I know you're Persian. You say it all the time.
Mhm.
You are so authentically you. So when did that switch happen from saying, I'm going to push all that away to fit into this role? And I think you're really good at changing yourself quickly. Like you've had to do that in this business because it requires it in order to succeed. But at the same time, you're very authentically Mike. And so how have you gone from where you were with trying to assimilate to today where you're so authentically you?
I credit that to my wife, my partner, my best friend, my partner in life, my professional partner. When she came into my life, she uh, she inspired me to mature. So that behavior was not mature. My stance was not mature. It could not continue. There were people that I wrote off of my life because of no wrongdoing, but because I didn't want to be hanging around a bunch of Persians because I didn't want to have to speak Farsi to keep my thick. I mean, it's shameful. I'm ashamed of it many years later, but then I've owned up to it and but Robin, I credit Robin for that because she basically allowed me to process it and be proud of it and not have this struggle of part of it was, well, the way I've gone, I don't think my culture will approve of me having disowned it. And I married an American instead of a Persian. You're supposed to marry a Persian. I married an American. And then here is my American wife that's saying, no, be proud of it. So that's the short answer on it.
Yeah, Mike, and having spent time in that dynamic with you and Robin, I want to affirm what you said. I mean, the best version of you really does come out when the two of you collaborate personally and professionally. Because I've seen both sides of it. You're great parents because 35 years. Am I in the right ballpark?
What?
Marriage,
What? 32 years,
32.
34 years together, and 30 of those 32 we've worked together.
Yeah. So I hope the audience hears that. Like, that's a long time to work out that dance between personal and professional topics that really you two collaborate on constantly. You called her your best friend, no doubt. I mean, I'm sure that's got to, I mean, I don't mean to imply there aren't times where you guys need a break or you need to do some things on your own. All of us do, but you've figured out how to work together in such an incredible dynamic. And I've seen the best version of both of you come out, especially in the professional context. You know, the two of you are now leading a team at a level that is impressive. And let's be honest, Robin is leading several of those teams in addition to your team. And I think in many ways that's part of the beauty of your story is she's not only brought out the inspiration to bring out the best in you personally, but that's not just you. Like, she really has that impact on lots of people. She's really an incredible partner for you.
She absolutely is. She absolutely is. You guys know, most people that know me, that, Kathryn is kind to call it authentic. I'm pretty raw, and I speak my
How
mind.
about a straight shooter?
Okay. Um, and I've learned, from her to be patient, to be nurturing, and that allowed me more satisfaction and enjoyment in my professional life when I transitioned for a while before coming back into the sales end to be more of a mentor and leader and recruiter and all that. I really enjoyed that, and I have that ability. So I credit all that to Robin.
Kathryn, you and Mike had a chance to work together for a long time.
Yeah.
You've seen some of that in play. What are some of your impressions of where you've seen Mike's leadership style show up, so that you can help bring our audience into that frame? Because of course, I've got a unique view as the guy who gets to work with him as a coach, but you've actually been a colleague.
Yeah, and I've actually worked in his office. I was outside his office, I think waiting to go to dinner or something, hearing him talk to a real estate agent, and that's still in my brain because Mike relates to people so well and he connects with people. I think one of the first times I met him was at a some sort of event, like top producer event type of thing. And my kids were there and Robin was there and she was just like, it was like she just adopted us and the kids. Like it was just like, hi, hey, here you go. Now we're all one. And it was just all of a sudden it was like great. And then it was, oh, you're staying with us. Okay, great. So I think that Mike and Robin have this special ability just to bring people into the fold, whether it be a real estate agent, a client, an employee, and all of a sudden they're just family. And I don't know if it's because they're used to big families and that's what they've done, but I definitely felt that pretty darn quickly. And then the difference with Mike is he's so curious. So he'll still say those questions of like, hey, how are you doing this? What are you doing with that? Are you guys having problems with this? And hey, this is what I've got going on. And what would you guys do? And not everybody is willing to be that vulnerable and open and request from his friends advice. So I think he's never one of those people where I'm like, Mike's ego is so big we can't fit him in the car, you know? So that just doesn't happen with Mike. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you. I have been humbled by life, and I I feel I'm fortunate because I do have a little bit in me that says I'm okay with being inspired by others. So regardless of what that individual's place in life is or profession, I'm curious and I listen. And for whatever reason, I'll walk away. There are those that don't inspire me, but then there's more people that I walk away. Even the guy that comes to work on something in the house, I'm like, man. And I go back to Rob and I go, I learned something from that guy, So maybe that's just, yeah, I love that I have that ability. And I'm so fortunate to be surrounded by people in my entire life that have mentored me and inspired me and allowed me
Well,
to.
One of the things I think you could get that from is as a young kid, you had to watch other people. You had to watch and learn and observe and make mental notes all the time. I can almost sometimes see your brain like thinking and making notes because I'm like, oh, he's making a checklist in his little mind right now. So I think that that's something that comes from that. But I'd be curious, what other lessons have you learned from that time that you're using today?
Well, this journey started with me saying, I don't want any influence. I know what I'm doing, and I know what I want, and I'm going to go and do it. And I'm going to fake it till I make it, right? That's how it started.
Hmm.
But I quickly learned that that could be very lonely, and it can be there's a point, then you're done. So the next phase is be open, be willing to collaborate, be willing to learn. And if you're fortunate and your systems work, if somebody share, be open with sharing and giving and be genuine in that, right? So I learned from my own journey what wrong decisions I made, and I was able to pivot and make those corrections to where I felt more at peace with myself, you know. Even when I was successful during that initial phase, there was a struggle because, like you said, I had to be something, maybe I had to pretend to be something I wasn't, right? But I was fortunate enough to make it. And then once I made it, I was like, okay, do you still have to pretend? Do you still have to? Because that's not who I am. I'm not a jerk. I don't have a big ego. I want to be liked, right? And throw some comic relief here and there, but I that's who the real me is. So I, my entire journey has been just continually allowing me to evolve and hopefully become a better version of myself, even at age 57. I learned from my kids, so we all do, right? But
Mm.
I don't know if I answered it, but that's
Or maybe you answered it beautifully. You know, Mike, what's great about getting to interview you in this context, we've had a lot of conversations over the years, and sometimes they've been at the dinner table, sometimes they've been out on your boat. I mean, we've had casual conversations, but what I'm learning today is a frame I'd like to put on it from the old Pat Lencioni Ideal Team Player. You may remember this book. It was built around a framework of hungry, humble, and smart. And I hope our audience today is going to take away something from all three of those categories. You can't manufacture the hunger that you've experienced in your life. That came from a circumstance that you didn't ask for. And like you said, no kid really wanted that. But at some point, it was your reality and it forced you to decide what you were going to do with it. And the beauty of those decisions is they didn't trap you for the rest of your life. You were able to, maybe through the next one, humble, welcome someone like Robin into your life as a young man and allow her to say, hey, you don't have to think like that. You don't have to act like that. You don't even have to talk like that. You can do these other things to mature, was the word you used, but you were humble enough to accept that. And yet it didn't rob you of some of those unique things like your sarcasm, which I still love to this day. That didn't go away. You just found a frame in which, okay, that's appropriate sometimes, but not all the time. So you're hungry, you're humble, and smart. Smart is really less about cognitive intelligence. I'll take your word for the fact that there's a Persian DNA and all of that. But what I really would like to highlight for our audience is the emotional intelligence. You're really good at reading the room. You're really good at seeing when someone might need a kick in the tail. And you're also really good at seeing when someone might just need a pat on the back. And because of the influence of someone like Robin, and because of some of the influence of your past, you've woven those together into a unique style that far from perfect, but really beautiful. And it's really great to see in action. And I just hope our audience has enjoyed that. We haven't spent any time talking about the modern version of the Rafii team, the current success you're having on the Rocket platform. Will you trust me, audience? That's all true as well. I'm just so glad that we spent the last 20 to 30 minutes unpacking a little bit of the story that maybe nobody knew, maybe nobody could have understood. And just your transparency to share some of that with us, man, I can't thank you enough, Mike. It's been awesome to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate both of you guys as friends and mentors and colleagues. So it's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Kathryn, I think with that, I'm going to bring us into close. This has been another great episode of Building Bigger Lives. Today with our guest, Mike Rafii. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope you'll go back and rewind. There's a lot of great takeaways in here, and maybe grab the transcript as well, because sometimes there are things that I hear along the way that I go back and read and think, oh my gosh, we did talk about that too. Please enjoy this. And if you do, share it with someone. They might benefit from it as well, because these stories of adversity, the things that made us stronger and helped shape us into the leader that we are today, these are critical for us to hear and understand, because they may help influence us, because our game's not over yet. That's part of building bigger lives. We're still building toward a bigger future even today, and we're so glad you're along with us on this journey. Thanks for listening.